There you go.
What is going on in there?
You did it.
The door was open.
So, I forget exactly where I heard about it, but there is this really cool little convention in Norway called Furnavia. I think currently this is Norway's biggest furry convention, and this year, 2024, is the second year they're holding a physical convention. So, this isn't NFC, this is a small convention, but that's only because it's new. Nonetheless, the convention was a lot of fun. It was a very positive experience that I did not know I needed until it was over. I'm very glad to have done it. Right, so if you somehow manage to stumble upon this video and you are unaware of what a furry convention is, first off, I'm sorry, and second, the short answer is a large gathering of people in a hotel. Except all of said people really like anthropomorphic stuff, and a lot of us like to cosplay. And by cosplay, I mean wear these things. There's also some events that the convention hosts itself. But of course you're gonna see what this furry convention is when we actually get to that part of the video. You could also watch my NFC video, please. So, Furnavia is in Kristiansand, Norway, and I live in Malmö, Sweden. There is quite some distance between those 2 points. Yeah, it was a long journey, but honestly it was very memorable, and oh my gosh, the sights were gorgeous. The first part of this video, outside of this intro of course, is going to be the journey to Kristiansand for the convention. And then of course after that is all the silly furry stuff. Excellent, we're all contextualized now. Without further ado, I declare the video started. Okay, hi. Okay, as of recording this and at the time of our journey, we live in a little sleeping town just outside of Malmö. We basically took a little train from our local station to get access to the Öresundståg, and that's basically the train that can go over this giant bridge connecting Sweden and Denmark. This is a really cool bridge. It is absolutely massive. I've been over it a couple times and driven on it as well. It is huge. Such a feat of engineering. But anyway, we got to a station that has the Öresundståg, and as tradition, one train was cancelled and the other one was delayed 3 times. Yet another time. Oh my goodness.
Öresundståg, Copenhagen, has now been cancelled.
I blame Denmark. Definitely Denmark's fault. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why you leave early on trips. Now, going over the bridge, you can see both Malmö and Copenhagen, and of course, the ocean. This bridge is quite long, and it also incorporates a series of artificial islands and underwater tunnels. In about 15 minutes, you can get from Sweden to Copenhagen. Train reveal, let's see what's behind the train. A wall. Be a nice shot, it's a wall. And this city is beautiful. It is gorgeous. I could make a whole separate video on Copenhagen because there is a lot to see. Concrete, yeah. I love concrete. But anyway, our journey must continue, for we have a ferry to catch. So there was still some distance between the port, which had our ferry terminal, and where we currently were, but fortunately Denmark has a very good metro system. These things are very fast and very neat to ride, honestly. So we go ahead and take one of those. That's crazy, it's so cool. We pop up at the nearest station next to the ports, and it's about a 10-minute walk, but after that we're at the ferry station. That's cool though. So I imagine the check-in terminal is quite close.
That one.
Really?
Yeah.
That little tiny terminal right there?
Yeah, that's it.
You have the tickets?
Yes, sir.
Wunderbar. Keep running my fucking shop.
Too slow.
I am trying. It's because I'm filming it. We are in the ferry terminal. Of course. Leave it to Denmark to build cool things out of Legos. Do you enjoy your nap? Look how much you drooled on. The coach. Did you have a good nap? You drilled. So we used DFDS, which is a Danish ferry company. These aren't cruise ships, but they kind of feel like them, and they're quite big. You're traveling over the North Sea, essentially, into Oslo, so they do have to be pretty sizable. It was a very comfortable ship, and we even got our own little room. Cool. Oh, this is so f***ing cute. Look at this. Oh, this is nice. Oh, it's like our own little personal jail cell.
Yeah.
We get a bathroom. That's in a shower, dude. It's a fucking shower. Holy. This journey is long enough to where you actually get to sleep overnight on this boat, which I think is actually a really fun experience. Of course, everything is extra. Nothing is really included, but the price is pretty decent. I think both me and my partner got from Copenhagen to Oslo for like 90 something euro, which is really good. It ended up actually being way cheaper than taking trains to Oslo from Malmö. So that's partially why we chose to go with the cruise ship. But on top of that, the cruise ship was just a lot more fun, and I'm glad we did that. The boat was cool. There was a lot of really cool sights to be seen on the boat. Like, for example, you could see the bridge that we took from Sweden to Denmark. You could see that giant bridge in both cities from the back of the ship. There.
That's Malmo.
Yeah, that's Malmö. You see that big tower?
Yeah. You can zoom in.
I did, yeah, look at that's the big tower in Malmö. Right over there. Then we went across this big bridge into Copenhagen, and then we took the metro and then got on the boat. And now we're here. You could also see various parts of both Sweden and Denmark on the way there, at least until the sunset, of course. It was really chill. We got like a little coffee and a cookie and kind of just watched the ocean go by. And later that night, we just went ahead and said, screw it, let's get a pizza, along with 2 beers, which this is one of the very rare occasions in which Danish beer was actually drinkable, but very, very pleasant. And the pizza place even got visited by the ferry line's mascot, which I thought was quite silly. I think we deserve some bonus points for taking a ship to a pirate-themed furry convention. Style is always something to be considered. Now, the tickets are pretty decently priced, but you have to keep in mind that pretty much nothing is included, and that includes Wi-Fi. And you're in the middle of the North Sea as well most of the time, so there's no connection to cell service. But there's connection to satellite TV networks, all of which are Danish, and the cartoons are not that good. I'm sorry. The place even has cable TV. It's in Danish, but there's some English channels if you don't speak Danish. Alright, TV update. We found Danish SpongeBob. Bro, what the hell? Danish cartoons are weird. Danish cartoons are funny. Many a cursed cartoons later, we decided to go to bed. We set a few alarms so that we can get up early with the sun and see the fjords pulling into Oslo, and that was a wonderful idea. My gosh, this was gorgeous. I don't know. There's just something so serene about it. Very calming, very peaceful. For the first time in my life, I am back in my ancestral homeland, and it's for, of course, a furry convention. I could not be any happier. My ancestors are smiling at me, Normie. Can you say the same? And we are docked here in Oslo. Yeah, that is a nice little fortress castle thing. It's really pretty. Doesn't look that big on camera, but I assure you, it is absolutely massive. Let's kind of cool, that boat. We were sleeping on that last night. This is the Opera House. Not one for that modern architecture. I think it's incredibly ugly. But whatever. Good job, Norway. So this is our first time in Oslo, and I think the city is honestly gorgeous. It's really cool. So this is Oslo Central Station. It's a lot bigger than it actually looks. It's quite extensive on the inside and even connects to a mall, which is crazy. It's like the size of an airport. So we had a couple hours before our train to Kristiansand left, so we decided to walk Oslo a little bit. Luckily, they offer lockers. We did have to get 2 because we were carrying 3 suitcases because I packed my fursuit very carefully, but I think it's worth it not to risk damaging the suit and keeping it safe. But once my boy was secured, we were free to walk Oslo without having to worry about our baggage. Honestly, really cool city. Lots of trams, buses, and trains. Oh, good stuff. Plenty of old, really cool looking buildings too. I'm not Christian, but I can really appreciate the old architecture of these churches. Lots of nice gardens and plazas, fountains, trees. We even walked up to the royal palace and walked the grounds there. Well kept and quite beautiful. Cool thing about Oslo is that there's a lot of underground infrastructure and the stuff goes really, really deep. Like just randomly walking around, you'll find little stations that pop up out of absolutely nowhere. You don't even notice. We were randomly walking behind the royal palace and there was this little station that just popped up out of nowhere and you could just walk down and it just kept going lower and lower. Some crazy architecture too. It's all concrete and kind of brutalist, but like it's honestly kind of cool. And these elevators are funky. Really neat though. And then on the bottom level, they had train tracks, which went on for what felt like kilometers. It was so long. It's honestly a really neat aesthetic, though. It's crazy. I can't even believe it's possible to build stuff like this. It's so cool. And funnily enough, the exit of this station on the opposite side took you right back into Central Station. So, inevitably, it became time for us to catch our train to Kristiansand. And let me tell you, this is the most gorgeous train ride I've ever gone on in my entire life. It was impressive how beautiful this country is. Even all the suburbs outside of Oslo were gorgeous. And even the more urbanized parts too. But the actual natural parts, oh my god. I'm not gonna display all the footage I took on the way there, but if I wanted to, it would be hours long because I took so much. There was so much pretty things to see. The train ride was a little bit over 4 hours. I think it was like 4 hours and 15 or 20 minutes, something around that. But I did not pull my phone out the entire time because I was looking out the window for the entirety of the train ride because that's how cool it was. Big mountains, lakes, forests, rivers, cute little cabins, tiny little towns. What a crazy little beautiful planet we find ourselves on. Anyway, enough of me dorking out about Norway. The train pulled in kind of late at night, so we opted just to walk straight to the hotel. I wonder where the hotel is. I wonder if the big beacon is the one.
Meridian's beacon.
Yes, the station is back there. See you around. Oh, just pulled up. Found a very nice guy on the walk here. Only other silly dude with a suitcase walking around Kristiansand at what, like 8:30? Okay, here we go. coincidentally, we ran into somebody else that was going to the convention, and we actually ended up getting beers that night, and he ended up being one of the nicest people I've ever met. So that's something cool. Already meeting great people before the convention even started. That's what these conventions are about. We met a couple great people the first night, actually. This being said, a little tip for anybody visiting Norway. Norway is not a place to drink because the alcohol is absurdly expensive for some reason. Worse than Denmark and worse than Sweden. Oh my god, 14 euros for a beer. Why? A bottled one, not even tap. Why? Don't drink in Norway. Don't give the Nords money for alcohol. I love Norway, and this was an amazing convention, but this is the last time I purchase alcohol in Norway. But, like I said, we brought 3 suitcases, one of which was entirely full of beer, so all within the legal amount, of course. But anyway, we go in, we commune with our new friends, and then we go up to our room after checking in. The room wasn't anything particularly glamorous, but it was definitely functional and pretty good.
No hobos in here. Nice. Do you think if I like touch one of these, they'll charge me like 30,000 Norwegian kroners? Weird ass toilets. What the f is the light switch, bro? Why is it outside? Yo, we got the wiggly frame. Got the wiggly frame.
And we didn't see it till morning, but we have a really awesome view. You could see the harbor and this little mountain. Like, look how cute these little Nordic houses are. They paint them the same color as the autumn leaves. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Not like Sweden, where, much like the people, their houses tend to be very gray and minimalist and bland. I'm joking. I do like Sweden. Sverige nummer ett. But anyway, I digress. We've been traveling for quite some time, so we don't do much and we go straight to bed, of course. For tomorrow starts Furnavia 2024. Okay, so today was the first official day of Furnavia 2024. We get up and take a look at the gorgeous view out the window, and we head down to the lobby. We had a pretty big chunk of time before the opening ceremony, and there wasn't much else going on before that. So we figured we'd walk Kristiansand a little bit, because it's quite a pretty town. But before doing so, we actually got breakfast. I thought it wasn't included with the room, but it was, and this was literally the best breakfast I've had probably anywhere. Actually, probably of my life, come to think of it. Like, I was in disbelief when I walked into there. It was insane in a good way. There was an incredible variety of just pretty much anything. Meat, bread, egg, pastries, coffee, fruit, vegetables. Oh my gosh, you name it, it was there. They even had smoked salmon for breakfast. And they even had an actual rack of honeycomb that you could just take off. I put that on my waffles. That was amazing. Like actual honeycomb. It was so tasty. They had an espresso machine, which it was glorified drip, but it was still decent coffee. Like actually incredible. Like I'm still like just in disbelief even right now in my dorky recording box talking about the crazy breakfast that I had at Furnavia. Oh my gosh, so cool. What are you concocting? Please narrate for me.
Iberian ham or prosciutto with brie cheese in a nice pancake, and I'm gonna have as a side some honey in a blue cheese with milk.
Yeah, oh my god. If you have not tried blue cheese with honey, it is absurd. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Put it on a pizza, a little bit of olive oil, then you are going to thank us.
It tastes absolutely nothing like you would expect. It's crazy. It's insane. Crazy ass Argentinian. Anyway, enough of me dorking out about the breakfast. Let's walk Kristiansand a little bit. There's some cool things to see. Of course, we got a good look at the hotel. It's next to a shipping container facility, but I actually think that's quite cool because this is a port town. But actually, we walked across the harbor, which was really pretty. You could see the ocean and all the beautiful countryside, all the nice houses, the trees, and of course the boats. And there's even a cool little fortress that they have open that you can walk. And there's actually cannons that you can see, like bronze cannons. He's very happy that he found a little acorn or something. We also decided to stop by the fish market because right next to the hotel there's an actual like Norwegian fish market, and they had the cheapest crab I've ever seen in my life. That is amazing. If I had the means to, I would definitely prepare crab, but I couldn't do that in the hotel room, unfortunately, although I was tempted.
Lobster activity. So weird.
So that's quite cool to see, but like, my gosh, this town is gorgeous. Like, the architecture, the nature, the environment, really incredible. I love this town, it's really cute.
Quite bold for a secret society, in my opinion.
Definitely worth to walk around if you ever visit this convention. It was also good to see random fursuiters pop up here and there. So at this point, we make our way back to the hotel, and it's time to do the opening ceremony, at least in a little bit. I wanted to full suit during the opening ceremony for some reason. Probably not the best idea because it got quite warm, but I did it anyways. At this point, this was like my actual first time suiting at a convention, like full suiting in any significant amount, outside of me recording dorky YouTube videos in my storage room. So if you're new to furry conventions, a lot of conventions like to do an opening ceremony. This is kind of like an introduction, a nice kickoff to the convention. They introduce some of the staff, they introduce some of the theming, the characters, whatnot. They give some context to the convention and whatnot. It's just a nice place for everyone to gather and start off the convention. This one was nice and silly. Nothing too crazy, but you know, you had the chair who was a total dork. He was really funny.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I didn't want to be here, so the security had to pull me in. But that's fine. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for attending this convention this year and taking your trip down to Kristiansand. So give yourself a round of applause for actually being here for Furnavia 2nd edition. Thank you all. I can't clap my hands, but can someone please clap for me?
They did a couple little funny skits, some acting, you know, funny usual stuff.
We sail through a plot hole? Yeah, that makes sense.
What was that?
Pants, ceiling, tunnel.
Did this merchant just steal my line?
And they also introduced the special guest for the convention, which was actually Uncle Kage, somehow. He is here.
Heard about this one? I think it's the famous Uncle Kage!
Hello, Kristiansand. Just a quick announcement. The guest was supposed to be Ronnie Noodles, but he was busy, so I'm the consolation prize. Hope you don't mind. If you have no idea who I am, that's fine. I'm the chairman of Anthrocon, for whatever the heck that's worth. I'm a storyteller. I do that on stage throughout the world. Just got back from Eurofurence. This is my first time in Norway. Very, very excited to be here, and I'm very grateful for the invitation. Oh, this is medicinal purposes. Yeah, when you get to be my age, you definitely need certain medicines to get you through the day. You'll understand in 60 years when you get there. Or, well, that's like 850 dog years or something, I don't know. I don't just tell stories. I also do other things, but I don't know what because I haven't looked at the schedule.
I made sure to attend every one of his panels so that I could, first of all, show you and then give a couple little speaking points on. But we'll get to that either in another video or as this video progresses a little bit.
The last thing to do, as the chairman, on the opening ceremony, I declare Furnavia 2024 officially opened.
I love it.
So yeah, great ceremony, after which I just walked around the convention space a whole lot between panels, which there wasn't a whole lot this convention, but That's mainly just because this convention is very small, and this is the second year they've done it. More panels will come, and hopefully I can host one next year, please. Gonna try. But anyway, I took some pictures with some silly other people. That was a lot of fun. But the next panel that I attended actually was the, quote, Your First Furry Convention, hosted by Uncle Kage, of course. This is not my first convention, obviously, but this is my first convention suiting. But I do know how these conventions work. I'm no stranger to that. But I mainly just went to get footage for people that watch this video, because maybe this is your first convention that you either went to or you're just watching a video just to figure out what conventions are. So anyway, he made some really good points. The panel basically started with him talking about the basic context of what is a furry convention, what do we do, what are furries, kinda. He mentioned like some general safety stuff, some general guidelines, some stuff that is just like super common sense, like take care of yourself during a convention, don't be smelly, please. But some stuff he mentioned I do want to go over, like for example, fursuit safety. It was nice. He actually got one of the fursuiters in the front row to go up and give like a demonstration, both on like what a fursuit is and that there actually is in fact somebody inside of them, and they tend to get very, very hot, and they're quite big, they're bulky, they look nice, but they can be a pain sometimes, and they also limit your vision, all that kind of stuff, and your hearing.
There are some things about fursuits that everyone should know. Even if this is not your first time interacting with them, I still want you to pay attention. There happens to be a fursuit from the front row. Could I ask you to step up here, please? Hello. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 more. Ah! Always make sure a fursuiter knows that there is an obstacle in front of them. And here's the first thing we're going to tell you about fursuits. They're so cute, they're adorable. They're blind. They cannot see very clearly in these suits. I'm going to stand back and I'm going to bring my hands around to Kuna's face. Kuna's going to raise a paw when they can see my hands come into the field of vision. All right, starting now. Put your paws up. Okay. I'm going to do top and bottom, right? I forgot who I was talking to. Now we're going. Just watch. Okay. You get the idea. Kuna can only see in like a little box area right here. If you see a fursuiter walking toward something that might be an obstacle, it is not just polite, it is encouraged to call out to the fursuiter and say, hold it, stop, look down.
What he was saying is the people wearing them have certain vulnerabilities that people need to be aware of, and he gave some advice how to help if something is going wrong, what to look out for. So some really solid information, and I'm glad it was said. And the demonstration was quite funny too. There's a lot of really good fursuiting advice that he gave, which I'm not going to get into too much detail with this video because I have a lot of the convention to cover. I will probably make a separate video that does detail this. But one thing I'm also going to mention from this panel was fursuiting etiquette, and specifically people not in suit but approaching suitors. Again, really common sense stuff, but I do feel it needs to be said because some people do struggle with this for a lot of different reasons.
People have a tendency. It's a strange thing about humans. When they see something cute, they want to pet it. It's a natural thing. It's like, oh look, I want to pet it. Don't. Without permission. Always, if you want to just, you say, oh, you are so cute. Is it okay, ma'am? Can I do this? And they will give you some sign, hopefully, that says, yes, you may. Don't scratch. Because if you do, that fur is not going to grow back. I happen to know because a little bird told me that Kuna cost somebody in US money over $4,000 and had to be brought from Texas. This is not a costume. This is artwork. This is a work of art designed to be worn.
Don't be dirty when you are touching the fursuits. Don't be smelly when touching the suits. Ask if you want to touch somebody else's suit or hug somebody, please. Don't just randomly start touching people, because that's super lame. Understand their limited vision and hearing. Ask for pictures. Make sure they're okay with that. And like Kage said, these are very expensive wearable pieces of art, and they can be tarnished. So don't do that.
How many people think that Kuna is very hot? By which I mean the temperature inside this work of art is going to get very, very high very quickly. An experiment was done. We put an electronic thermocouple inside the head of a fursuit, just a regular fursuit, and sent them out bopping around. After 60 seconds, the temperature inside that fursuit head was 48 degrees Celsius. So Kuna, if you are starting to feel overheated, what is the universal gesture that fursuiters will use? If you're trying to tell people, I am getting very warm in here. Yes, fanning the face. This is essentially a call for assistance. If you see a fursuiter doing this, they're asking for help, and they will give you two answers. That's one answer, and everything else. Okay, if you're that's a no. We're gonna make that a no. Then you get them some help. Fursuiters get priority on the lifts. Because I don't care where you're going upstairs, they probably need to get there faster than you do.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Some really decent information in the panel. Definitely expect a more detailed video on this. Ugh, new voice line. Apologies if I'm congested. Right, so that was the Your First FurryCon panel. After of which, there wasn't a whole lot going on, but there was actually something that night on day one that was very unique. I haven't seen any other convention do it before, and this is something I saw on the schedule and I was very excited about for quite some time beforehand. Furnavia had a banquet. They actually had a con-wide dinner for everybody.
Pick a spot. Let's go down a little bit. Yeah. They actually prepared a nice dinner. What the? This is amazing, dude. You're taking to pay for it, so. Yeah, it's come to the ticket, so. Yeah, look at like an actual like prep table. That is insane. Dude, Norway is crazy, man. What the hell?
Like that time that we were in the Meteor concert, that they threw the torch to us. I was like,
oh, that was so cool. Oh, look at this grand banquet. Big old banquet. All of us. Next to the stage. Oh, vielen Dank, mein Freund.
I never thought I would get to participate in something like this, and I am so glad that I did. This was honestly one of the biggest highlights of the entire convention, and this is something I'm going to probably remember the rest of my life. So for the convention dinner, they actually cleared out the whole main stage area and set it with tables. Like with nicely set tables and everything. We got with our group and we just went and chose seats together. We basically just sat down and we chatted amongst ourselves until dinner was served, of course, which was really good. I keep forgetting how good the food in Europe is. It's actually edible here. If you didn't have an allergy or some other dietary restriction, you basically got served chicken with potatoes and a vegetable puree. And it was excellent. was absolutely immaculate. Oh, I still remember.
I want my chicken rare.
You like your chicken medium rare?
Yeah, I want my chicken medium rare.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh gosh, the potato is so tasty. The vegetable puree is delicious.
I firmly remember just sitting there, just in awe, just thinking, this is what's been missing my entire life. This is what I've been lacking. I finally found it. Guys, I know it's just a plate with chicken and potatoes, but like, you have to understand, I've never actually felt more just accepted and at peace with myself. It was truly just like a healing experience, and I think that's really something special. Ugh, sorry about that. Anyway, back to dinner. The main course was quite excellent, and so was the company with whom I shared it with. The main course, having set quite a high standard, really made the quote-unquote dessert, fall pretty flat. The best way that we collectively agreed on describing said quote-unquote dessert was an IKEA candle. Okay, for context, we got these little jars that looked like empty candle jars, but they were full of this strange white gelatinous thing with some red on top of it. Red. It did not taste like anything, really. Not anything good. It was kind of flavorless. Slight acid bite to it.
There's confused faces. What's confusing about the dessert?
Feels like it's gelatin, everything.
But it doesn't have a strong taste.
No. It's not milk.
It's a strange mystery goop concoction.
Mystery goop.
Mystery goop. Everyone is quite concerned about the texture of said mystery goop.
I was excited because I thought it was tiramisu.
Oh, that is really gelatinous. What the hell? It's like a little alien. Hang on.
Eat it.
Want me to record it for you?
No. I'm gonna like. What the? That's this actually gel. Whoa.
It tastes like a mixture of almond and oats. Like
I can't taste it.
No, the white stuff. Like,
Oh, that's really strange, guys.
to that. Like, okay. That. Oh. It's pig. What? There's pig in here.
That's how you make gelatin.
Yeah, but like,
Is this like just
I
frozen
don't know
fat?
if they just serve us a bowl of lard.
God, Norway's crazy, man. What?
There's pork in here.
We asked her where it was, and it's pig.
What is it? It's pork.
Oh dear, guys, this is very weird.
Yeah.
This is very strange, guys.
So we had this suspicious like jello looking thing, and then the staff literally just described it as pig. I don't know. Not a lot of it was eaten, to say that. But with that aside, the dinner was absolutely excellent, and I really wish conventions would do this more. I know it's difficult on larger scales, like no way could NFC do anything like this, but on a scale like Furnavia of around 300-ish people, it really is very possible, and it is one of the most fun things you can possibly do in life. Like, my god, that was awesome. And what an absolutely excellent way to conclude Furnavia Day 1.
You make the prettiest plates out of all of us.
And I eat them the fastest too.
Indeed.
You should have seen this one 3 minutes ago.
So, another day, another round of Kage panels, and a movie, which, we'll get to that later. But besides that, there really wasn't a whole lot that day we could really do or were interested in. I mean, we did the quiz, but we'll get to that in a second. There was quite a bit of awkward downtime on day 2. I don't know if I just wasn't invited, but I don't know where anybody was most of the day. It was kind of empty. It was kind of strange. Fortunately, the arcade carried really hard, and I could practice Guitar Hero and dork out about really old game consoles that are super cool. And as tradition, I just had to load up Sonic Adventure 2 on the GameCube. Chef's kiss. Mwah. Every convention really should have an arcade. Anyway, regardless of the scheduling, there's still a lot to talk about today. We do the classic, and of course we load up on breakfast because that is going to be probably about 80% of our calorie intake for the day. I'm still amazed by how great this breakfast is. But like I said, there is very large chunks of time between events and or friend gatherings, so we did the classic and we explored Kristiansand a little more. Apparently this old classical looking building was a McDonald's at one point, so that's kind of funny. So the first Kage panel for today was, quote, "So you want to make a furry con." So as we now know, Uncle Kage is the chair of Anthrocon and has been for many years. Anthrocon is very large. So anyway, the panel begins with Uncle Kage, one of the founders of Furnavia. They start by contextualizing furry conventions and how they essentially start, and they also gave a little bit of background context to Furnavia, how it kind of started as a small meet and just a little idea, and eventually grew into a hotel con. They also put a lot of emphasis on how you don't really want to start one of these things because it is immensely difficult.
You come to me and you say, "I want to start a furry convention." I answer, "You're an idiot. You're a goddamn moron. You don't."
There is just a near infinite amount of factors you simply cannot control. And I couldn't help but draw the connection between the Convention Nightmare panel I saw at Denver 2022 and this, because they both essentially talked about the same thing in running conventions. A surprising factor in what actually makes a convention survive and successful is how well versed you are in corporate warfare. Hotels and venues will try to screw you over and get as much money out of you as possible. Apparently Anthrocon has a whole team of lawyers, just to put it into perspective.
Don't sign the first copy of the contract the hotel gives you. If you do that, you're stupid. And the hotel will treat you like you're stupid. You want the hotel to take you seriously. For one thing, I insist. Our board of directors is required to dress in business attire when we are dealing with our partners in Pittsburgh. Because we are a serious business, we want to be treated like a serious business. Yes, we're all about having fun. Yes, we're fluffy. And yes, Uncle Kage is a clown. He's always happy-go-lucky. But it is very important that these business people that you are dealing with respect you as a business person. This has got to be run as a business. You have to have a management structure. You've got to have someone in charge. Yes, it's a volunteer organization, but you still have to run it as a business, because if it's a bunch of kids having a party, you're going to wind up broke, and you don't want that to happen.
Crazy stuff. It was honestly a really fascinating and very interesting panel to attend. There is tons going on behind the scenes in the terms of numbers and politics and management. It's absolutely insane. Props to you guys for actually running a convention and to the people that actually work so hard to make these things functional. So, the next Kage panel was scheduled in the same place immediately after this one ended. So they basically just chained right into each other, but I decided to full suit again for some reason for these panels and needed to go to the Fursuit Lounge, which I'm gonna take this chance just to show you guys really quick because I've never seen a convention do it like this, and I think every convention should do it like this because this is cool. And Uncle Kage said the same thing. I don't know who was behind this, but I thank you very much. All of us fursuiters really thank you for your ingenuity. The system is so neat because this blows cold air into your suit, because I'm like in the lounge right now, but helps cool it off. And they even have these little slits you can open that blow air through, and you can close it when you're not using it and then open it up when you're cooling down, and it puts air through your suit. And they have a whole rack of this. Really freaking cool, right? Anyway, once I got my body temperature normalized, I went back into the panel, which was, quote, the olden days. This was a panel detailing the origin of the furry fandom and how it kind of evolved over the years. It was cool. He was talking a lot about retro tech and how this all basically started in like old chat rooms and whatnot. The importance of old cartoons and comics and video games, and how at one point the furry fandom was very intertwined with general science fiction. It of course later branched out and flourished into what it is now today. There's some really fascinating points that, of course, Kage could probably iterate better than I can.
This little fan club initially called themselves the Galachi Gang. But that's far too many syllables for Americans to remember. Americans are limited to 2 syllables. Have you noticed that? We always call ourselves by nicknames that are no more than 2 syllables because our brains don't think that far. That's true. You can look it up. It's science. Galachi Gang is too much to say. These characters are furry. We'll just call ourselves furry fans. That was the beginning. Originally, these furry fans would get together at science fiction conventions because in those days we had no internet. We were not connected then. If you wanted to meet somebody else, you went to a science fiction convention. We didn't have these specialized conventions like we have now. The science fiction convention was where everyone who treasured the imagination went, and they would have room parties. The furry room parties, they were interesting. They were unique. It was mostly guys sitting in a silent room with these black Strathmore sketchbooks drawing and sharing the art. You would walk into this room, it would sound like a funeral. Nothing, just the sound of pencils. And occasionally somebody would show the book over and they'd say, nice. And that's how things were for about a decade.
There is a lot that I agree with and a lot that I disagree with, which is completely cool. We all have different opinions on things. That being said, some people don't hold that same value, and I'm going to refrain from touching these topics for the time being. Potential separate video, because this is a convention and travel video, not a fandom politics video. But nonetheless, a very fascinating and fun panel to attend. Silly stories and good information as usual. What is next on the itinerary? Oh. Ah, yes, the Hundreds of Beavers movie. It's very much copyrighted, so I can't show you what that is here, but just take my word for it and watch it. Trust me. This was something funny that Uncle Kage recommended, and at first I was like, why the hell did he pick that movie? And then I watched it, and yeah, I understand why he picked it. It's an experience. Question mark. Just watch it, trust me. It was honestly way better than I expected. It blew my expectations out of the water. Very funny, really good time. My entire group was laughing their ass off. And in there I heard some of the just biggest belly laughs I've ever heard in my life. It was hysterical. Good stuff. So at this point, wasn't a whole lot going on. I really wasn't interested in the fursuit dance. Dancing isn't my thing. There was one more panel we were gonna do, and that was the trivia quiz, but there was some time between that, which meant sushi. That's what that meant. So it was time for us to go out into Kristiansand once again and search for sushi.
Oh dear, my first question is why?
Because I need to man up.
I don't think you're quite prepared for what you're... I don't think you understand what you've put on top of your sushi.
Avocado.
Dude, you might actually die. Prost. Yeah, your face is turning red. Yeah, you're like crying right now. Just do wasabi.
Okay, the quiz was pretty funny. I knew next to nothing, but fortunately I had a full team and I had 3 other people with me, so that was quite helpful. I also couldn't hear absolutely anything in suit, but like I said, I had a team. What was the name of said team? Oh boy, Butter Churners United. Oh, our glorious team of Butter Churners United. We will churn that butter. This is relatively difficult to narrate these trivia quizzes, but fortunately we were given special permission to film most of it, so here you go.
What is the name of this character from our childhood?
I've never seen that before. He's handsome though.
You already have a wolf. Are you going to leave me?
Next question. What is the name of this character?
Oh, I know this.
In 1793, Joseph Dombey was sent to America with an important item. However, he was captured by pirates. This incident may have changed the modern world. What was the item?
Rum.
It could be something stupid like that.
Yeah.
What was Blackbird's real name?
His name in Spanish.
Yeah, it was his Spanish, but I cannot remember.
Ronaldo?
Huh?
Ronaldo?
Fernando, no.
Was considered to be the most successful pirate of all time. What was the size of her fleet and the crew she commanded?
7. Probably more than like 5.
Yeah.
What was the reason pirates wore eye patches?
Fashion. It was when they went under the bridge, they were stealth, so they had one eye covered so it acclimated to darkness, so they could move between decks without having to acclimate to light acclimation.
Okay, next question. What country has the most islands in the world?
And that was the quiz with the glorious Butter Churners United. And with that, that pretty much ends day 2. We just went to the hotel room and drank beer and talked for 4 hours, which that's nice. And then we went to bed. Oh, time for day 3. Day 3 was funny. It was a tribulation of both boredom, excitement, and chaotic mishaps. Again, there wasn't too many events that I wanted to attend, and to be honest, there weren't many events, period. But, you know, it of course was still a lot of fun, because we had quite the crazy room party, which we'll get into in just a bit. So, today was the group photo. I, of course, could not miss that. But between the glamorous usual breakfast and that, there was quite a bit of time, which, again, the arcade carried hard. Lots of GameCube was played. And in addition, us sitting down on a couch listening to people ask Uncle Kage weird and random questions. We did that for a couple hours, but when we felt we were done, I decided I wanted to leave a little bit of feedback because I do that with every convention that I go to. That's just how I operate. This is the first time this has happened, but I guess I'll just blur the face and say what happened. Apologies if this is not standard etiquette or protocol, but there was a unmarked box with a opening on top of it and some notepads and a couple pencils. I had heard that this was the feedback box, but I was completely unsure and I didn't want to mess with somebody else's stuff, you know, so I asked somebody who was on the security team, apparently, at least I think they were, and they were incredibly rude. I'm not gonna get into too much detail because I still have some stuff to cover in this video, but it was a very terrible social interaction and it kind of really threw the entire vibe of the convention off for like the next half day for me, so that kind of sucked. But I am strong and stalwart, so I press on to the dealer's den and art show, of course, because that opened up just a few minutes after this lovely interaction, and I say that with the biggest quotation marks possible. It's a dealer's den. Of course, it's always cool to see all the neat things people are selling. The convention was selling neat stuff too, and the art show was kind of small, but of course neat to look at. Well done, everybody. So after that, we all began to gather for the group photo, which was in the main stage area. At the point of recording, the photos are not out quite yet, so I just have the footage that me and my team collected. But it's pretty much what you expect. We all gather together in the main stage area and we line up for a photo. I don't know how well I'll probably show up in it because people were holding their paws up in the air and I was kind of in the back. I'm not short, but suits tend to be big, so I might have been behind a wall of fursuits. But we of course also did an outside photo, not in the parking lot, but on the conference floor balcony. This was a lot of fun. They even had a drone take some pictures and it was just incredibly cool to see all the people passing by and interacting with them. We had tons of the locals stopping by and taking pictures and videos, waving at us, and even trying to start a little wave like they do at sports games. It was so cute, honestly. Even some of the cars were honking as they drove by. The locals seemed to really like us so far. And something that was just incredibly cool was actually meeting somebody that watches my videos on the way out after the photo. They were like, "Hey, I watch your videos and just wanted to say hi." It was honestly kind of surreal because it's like, oh man, my audience is real. This is incredible. And of course we had a nice hug and all that, but it was quite difficult to see in full suits, and I didn't quite get your name, but I just want to say thank you, and the Discord is open if you want to ever chat. The interactions like that is why I make these videos in the first place, to be honest. Alright, and up next on the itinerary for day 3 was, of course, the content creators panel. This was a little meet and greet panel for anybody interested in content creation, hosted by Lucky, everybody's favorite Foskey. The panel went about what you would expect. Everyone kinda explained what they did in content creation and gave some tips and tricks, and we passed around advice. Good stuff. On top of that, I'm just very glad I went to this panel because I made some really incredible friends. Some of just the nicest people I've ever met. And encounters like this is why I just love furry conventions, and smaller conventions at that. Fantastic. So after that, there was quite a chunk of time until the Kage story hour. Apologies if I'm a little congested, I think I got a tad sick. But between that and the Kage story hour, I don't know where the convention went again. It was kind of like a ghost town. Where did everybody go? I assume out to lunch for an hour or two, which I opted not to do because it's expensive to eat here, but everybody disappeared.
You can say it.
Where did the convention go? There's fursuits, but there's no one to wear them.
Everything's empty.
And we spent over an hour next to the hot chocolate machine, which was very nice, by the way. More panels, bruh. Anyway, let's skip time up until the Kage story hour, shall we? He can definitely hold the stage pretty well, so it was a pretty entertaining panel. He's had quite a lot of time being the chairman of Anthrocon, and just in general being around furries and furry events.
People have been asking all weekend what happened to your finger, and I said, well, you'll have to go to my story hour. I have been trying so hard to come up with a decent story for what happened to my finger, but nothing really clicked. So I'll tell you the truth. Don't get old. I was taking off my sock and broke my finger. That's it. That was all it was. It is my job as chairman to greet the guests when they arrive. So I had stayed up, and I will make sure that I greet my guest. The deal was that I was supposed to get a phone call when they are 10 minutes out. So his plane landed somewhere around midnight. It's roughly a 25-minute drive from the airport, about 12:30, 12:35, 12:40. 12:45, I was beginning to worry when the phone rang and the most utterly uncharming Western Pennsylvania accent said, "Yeah, I got your guy." I said, "Great, 10 minutes?" He said, yeah, 10 minutes. And he hung up. 40 minutes later, he called back and said, what's the address? I said, the address? Dude, it's the convention center. There's only one in Pittsburgh. It's a giant building on the river. He said, yeah, I think they gave it a wrong postal code. He said, I'm in Wilkinsburg. Okay. Little geography lesson of the state of Pennsylvania. Here we have the city of Pittsburgh, which has the address 1000 Penn Avenue, which is the convention center. About 90 miles north, there is the town of Wilkinsburg, which also has a 1000 Penn Avenue, which is a burned out crack house. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 o'clock in the morning, this big black limousine pulled up. There is a concrete island with a stone wall surrounding it in front of the Westin. The limousine came in, took the turn quite too tight. The wheels bumped up onto the island. You heard the scrape of the entire side, like Titanic ripping its hull on an iceberg before the whole thing slammed back down to all 4 wheels. I ran to the door. I pulled it open. There is my luminary guest, the eminent Jim Cummings. staring, hypnotized by an electrical panel that had fallen and was swaying in front of his eyes by a wire that I think was sparking. It just so happens that the legendary TV news cameraman Furry Big Blue Fox was attending Anthrocon, and he had his camera out and he filmed this entire debacle, the arrival, and Mr. Pitstains and his When BBF showed me the video, the limousine scrapes, crashes down, and then you hear my voice shouting, "Motherfucker!" Yeah, I was driving home when I got a call from the limousine company. How did we do? The person, we put her on speaker, and I said, "You're going to be receiving an email in about a minute with a video file in it. I'd like you to watch that." And through the speakerphone, I could hear, "Motherfucker." And she said, "Ah, I see. Thank you for the feedback. I'm going to make another phone call now. Bye."
He's seen and done quite a bit. That being said, I am unsure how much of that was true, but regardless, it was entertaining. There, of course, was stories about furry conventions, and every bit of chaos that entails, and a story or two about his IRL interactions, either with his career or other people, which were also quite funny. Personally, I quite enjoy story hours, so I got a good kick out of this panel. But with that, that is the last of the panels I was interested in for the day. I am not one for raves nor EDM music, just not my taste.
What are you doing? Fuck off, the show's over.
Oh, so this begins the fun part of the night. We decided to meet up with the people we met at the content creators panel, along with some other buddies, and we went out to get takeout sushi, just from the same place we did the other day, but we planned to bring it back and have a nice room party all together. If you're curious, 10 beers in Norway costs about 50 euro if purchased from a liquor store, at least in the area that we were. We had since consumed all the alcohol in which we brought from Sweden, but everyone kind of had their own stuff, so it worked out pretty well. It was a very nice room party, a lot of great social interactions. I got to talk more with some new friends that I made. It was very lovely.
Tail stuck, no! No!
Do you need help?
Okay. But you guys are on fire.
Okay, bye-bye.
You're free! Yay!
What the hell? What was that? Where's the tail?
He's got the tube! He a tube! What is he drinking, by the way?
Us. He's drinking
He's drinking ass! Drinking ass! Yes! Oh!
It was falling over earlier.
Whiskey. Fuck.
Like, in Arizona, you can't have a donkey sleeping in your bathtub after 7 p.m.
But the less I talk about that, the better. So we are moving on to the next day. Ah, yes, of course, the accursed last day of a convention. Everybody's least favorite day. Everybody was sad and nostalgic. Not me, though, for I was very hungover and slept 3.5 hours. And I'll be damned if I'm not going to attend the entirety of the Fursuit Games in full suit right when it starts, which is exactly what I did. Thank you for having sports drinks with electrolytes at the Fursuit Lounge. I very much appreciate it. Anyway, Fursuit Games, yes. The first game, of course, was musical chairs with only fursuiters. That was interesting. I somehow placed second. Somehow, I never thought I would get that far. I only killed one person and stole one chair. I'm sorry, Rags.
On to the left! 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 One left behind! Forward!
I'm in danger!
You failed.
Anyway, good game. The next game is kind of difficult to explain, but it regarded moving a hula hoop around in a lot of different ways to a lot of different places while being on a team, in which every member of the team had to participate.
Split you all into teams. We have 3 team leaders here that are non-suitors. They're gonna split you up because they know what's coming. All right. This is the ring triathlon. We're going to be using these hula hoops. Yeah, hula hoops. We have 3 tasks. 3 that you have to do in a certain order, which I'll explain now, as fast as possible. And the fastest team wins. Holding pause. And you're going to take the hoop. Only one end, and get it through your entire body without breaking contact until you get to the end of the line. After that, you go to task number 2. That is that you need to get the ring from one end of the room to the other end of the room while it's constantly touching the ground or the floor, and also every member of the team also needs to be touching it. Task number 3. So once you've gotten it from one end of the room to the other, you pick out a member of your team to be to be your statue for a ring toss. Amazing job, everyone. There were some pretty cool creative solutions, especially from Vika for the second task. And it is Vika's team who won. I don't know who came in second and third. Okay, it was Eddie's team second and Spriggy's team third, but you're all amazing.
The rules were kind of unfairly bent, but I'm not going to get into that because whatever. But regardless, it was silly and fun, so very good. My team placed first, by the way, if you're curious. And for the third game, it was essentially a modified version of freeze tag. You had two teams, witches and non-witches. The witches, if they touched your shoulders, you need to freeze in place and then go into kind of like a pose, but with your legs open. You were also frozen in place when this happened. The only way you would get unfrozen is if a non-frozen, non-witch game member went underneath your legs, and then you would be unfrozen, and you could help out the other people on your team. The game ended if the non-witches survived a certain amount of time, or if the witches froze everybody. It was utter chaos for about 15 minutes, and we played 2 rounds. Why I decided to do this in full suit, I don't know, but I pulled it off. Fun stuff. I definitely recommend you guys do more fursuit games and more fursuiting activities like this in the future. There were only 2 panels that day, the Fursuit Games and the closing ceremony. Yeah, it was pretty much a half day, everything was kind of wrapping up, but still I basically just sat in the Fursuit lounge for 2.5 to 3 hours while waiting for the closing ceremony. As interesting as that would be for me to describe, let's go ahead and just skip to the closing ceremony.
Hello? Okay, there we go. So, yeah, as Nancy said before, yeah, we have already signed a contract with the hotel in 2025, and our amazing animation team had put together the trailer, so I think everybody knows the theme for next year. So, is everybody excited for 2025? So, everybody, I hope to see everybody coming back next year, right? That's what I'm going to tell everybody here.
So yeah, closing ceremonies are pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of a big wrap-up for the convention for everyone to gather for the last time, at least for the year, and recollect on what had just occurred the past couple days. This is also where the convention likes to make announcements. And, of course, they announced the theme for next year, Furnavia 2025. The Blood Moon Spooky. That animation was adorable, by the way. Well done on that. And with that, they conclude Furnavia 2024. Very somber, but also an excellent convention that I am very glad that I went to. A lot of great memories and friendships forged. A overall relaxing and wonderful vacation and experience. And with that, that was Furnavia 2024. That's pretty much all I have to offer on that. And the video is essentially finished if you are just watching for the con experience and or travel. Ah, you're still here. Welcome to the bonus section of the video. Right, alright, just some thoughts and a tad bit of feedback for the convention, because who knows who's going to be watching this video. I had the chair of NFC watch my last NFC video, which is like, wow, but like I said, who knows who is going to be watching this video. Right, general thoughts. I liked the convention. It was a ton of fun. I had a lot of fun during this convention, and I actually talked to more people at Furnavia than I did NFC this year. I had a lot of positive social interactions and a couple awkward and negative ones, but this is a convention that is bound to happen. Kristiansand is amazing. It is such a pretty little cute town. I very much enjoy the vibe, and I think it's a wonderful location for this size of a convention. Furnavia was small, but I think that's actually a good thing because that allowed us to have wonderful events like the banquet. That was incredible. Thank you so much for hosting that dinner for everybody. That was the highlight of probably my year at that point. I felt for the resources that you had available and the size of the convention and its location, you did an excellent job executing all the main stage events and overall running the convention. That being said, there was a lack of panels, and with 300 people, you definitely could have incorporated some more. I don't know if that was an issue regarding people applying for panels, but I 100% would have hosted a panel, maybe even two, if I knew where the forum was for submitting ideas and or applying for panels. I attempted to speak with, I think, 3 separate staff members of the convention, and I wasn't able to get like a straight answer from any of them. I was kind of just bounced between various different people that all said pretty much the same thing and or said something I couldn't quite comprehend, but I appreciate them trying. But still, I am left in the dark and I do not know. So if by any chance somebody is listening, it would be great if I could get some information on hosting a panel. Thank you so much. Also, on a little side note, the board game panel room thing, I was unaware it was bring your own games, and a couple other people were too. So maybe you can state that somewhere on the website. Just a little suggestion. Another thing, the arcade is great. Please do that again next year and expand it if possible. That was a pretty good addition and a highlight to the convention. The staff I did talk to during the convention were nice enough and tried their best, with exception of the one person on the security team I mentioned earlier. Also, well done with the Fursuit Lounge. That was incredible. Nothing but great feedback from me at that. Well done. Also, just a little nitpick for me. During the group photo, I really feel it was kind of hard for the photographer to see everybody past the middle of the crowd because people were holding their arms up and kind of covering the rest of the suitors in the back. I know it might be like herding cats, literally, but and it would be kind of difficult to coordinate, but maybe perhaps having some of the shorter suitors stand in front and some of the taller ones in the back. The pictures haven't been released yet at the time of recording this, so they may turn out nice, and if that's the case, then you can disregard that last suggestion. And that's pretty much all the feedback that I have right now. So yeah, that pretty much sums up the video and my little bonus suggestion chunk of the video. I very much appreciate all of you watching. It means the world to me to meet you guys and just to read your comments and that you watch this. It's just such an incredible feeling, really. So thank you for that. And thank you, Furnavia 2024, for hosting a wonderful convention. I very much look forward to 2025. So until the next one, be well and goodbye.